his club and his community, and then we've also got a case study from Norfolk Combination Youth Football League, and again talking around what success means to them as a league and how they measure it and monitor their success. So just a quick recap, looking at one of our first webinars on what we stand for. So all around defining as a club or as a league what your vision is, what your mission is, what your goals are. So really, really important for this topic that actually having a vision and a purpose allows you then to reconnect and to work out what your successes are. And hopefully they go back to what your vision is, what your purpose is. So just a recap of some of those buzzwords that we spoke about last time. So the vision is almost how you as a club or a league would like to be seen by the rest of the world, by those that sit outside of your club, but also those that sit within your club or league. The purpose is why you exist, why you're in existence. Why do you operate as a league? What are you operating for? Same example as a club. Why are you operating? What are you operating for? What's your purpose? What do you do in your community that makes you different from the club down the road? The mission, really big one. How do you think you're going to get there? What measures are you going to put in place to make sure you reach your vision? And the aims and goals, again, they're your milestones to help you realise and reach your vision and mission. Those objectives, those targets, those measurables, the things that you can actually tangibly say, yes, we are working towards them. Yes, this is the way we are going to measure our steps to get to our vision, our steps to get to our end goal, our steps to achieve what we as a club or a league have set out to achieve, and our values. What underpins all of that thinking, all of that vision? What underpins how you operate? What underpins how you manage situations within a club? What you are trying to embed within your community, whether that be through players, coaches, volunteers, league committee members. And it's really important actually to celebrate successes. So really good topic today to look at how we define success. What does success mean? For different clubs, for different leagues, success will mean completely different things. And that's actually all okay. And it's really important as well to highlight that success can be anything that you want as a club or league, and that will be underpinned by what your vision is, what your mission is, what goals you've set out. And here are just a few examples of how different leagues and clubs have defined and celebrated some of their successes. You can see on the left-hand side here, you've got quite a stats-heavy based way of celebrating their success. It's a really clever way of celebrating their success for a period of time. So minutes played by the participants that have joined this program, different referees that they've supported through their sponsorships and support mechanisms, different pathways that players have taken as a result of entering their program. The one at the top right, a club here on their website banner have put the different these clubs, their players progressing further and beyond their club into different step levels, different clubs, is another way of defining success, another way that can be captured in programs, that can be captured on league websites. So celebrating success is really crucial. Defining your success is even more crucial, and more importantly, understanding actually that success can be anything you want it to be. Again, it's really important, and I know that will come out through our key presenters today. So, why measure success? You can only really know how successful you've been once you actually reflect on where you've come from, and almost, and more importantly, where you want to get to. So that's really, really important. If you haven't and you don't know quite yet where you have come from and where you want to go to, it'll be a little bit challenging to work out what success is. But actually, once you get them objectives in place, once you get your vision in place, once you get your goals to help you work towards success, you have a better way of actually being able to measure that. Success motivates people. It helps people achieve. It helps people build a sense of togetherness, a sense of positivity. We all know what it's like. Once we've succeeded in something, it motivates us, pushes us on to do the next thing, to go that little bit further, to reach that little bit higher. Success and the reasons for demonstrating that has real value when you're talking to funders, when you're talking to businesses, when you're talking to sponsorships around the investment that they may make into your club. Not just for now, but in the future. If you can prove that you're successful in whatever you deem successful for you as your club or league, and you can demonstrate that in the right way, that has real value when you're talking to those that may want to invest in you, when they want to sponsor you financially, may want to endorse you as your club or league. It provides ongoing business support planning. So actually, having those success measures helps you know that you are achieving your business plan, whether that be 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10 year. And you can start ticking off those successes. And if you're working on short-term and medium long-term goals, that actually helps you get to hopefully your bigger picture, your overarching aims of your business plan, overarching aims of your development plan, helping you steer towards that overall vision, helping you steer towards that overall success. It helps as well tell a story. There are so many fantastic clubs out there in our grassroots landscape, and you do such amazing things, and it's actually really, really good and positive, and it needs to be shared bigger than just internally. I'm sure that all of your parents, all of your coaches, all of your players know what a fantastic job you do, but actually it's really important to share that beyond those that already know what you do. And again, I've mentioned it right at the beginning, but above all, it shows that you're meeting your vision and your purpose, and hopefully that's the reason that you're in existence. And if you keep working towards that, that will always be your guiding light, your shining star as to those hard decisions that you need to be made, those business plans you might need to rein in, all around making sure that you're solid towards your vision and purpose. I think you jump in to take that.
Yes, thanks, Danielle. So if we get into start talking about how to measure success, kind of in simple terms, think about it as quantity, as numbers, and quality. And as Danielle showed on some of the earlier slides there, you can already see, I think typically a lot of people would look at quantity probably more often than not, because it's easier perhaps to just count numbers. Anyone who's pulled together or prepared a funding application, often immediately the attention is drawn to how many of this, how many of that, how many new people playing, or how many hours doing this or that. So it's quite nice to have numbers and easy to track a change over time. Types of things we look at, say number of members, number of players, then financially when we've got numbers to play with, so levels of income, whether the business is growing or not, number of coaching qualifications, and other skilled volunteers. So, and of course, we've got a league table that's got numbers, which immediately tells you whether they're succeeding or not. But I think alongside that, it's really good to try and get a mix of really quantity and quality. So thinking about qualitative, really about, says the quality. So what different things could you potentially measure? So things like satisfaction. Would you recommend this volunteering for this club to a friend? Or what's becoming more and more apparent is the importance of well-being. How people, so it's more often about feelings. And again, it's nice to mix up some quantifiable numbers with some feelings, telling the story of success in a slightly different way. So, broadly speaking, you can fit them into two categories. If I go on to the next slide, there's all kinds of ways that obviously that you can help measure both. So most people will be familiar with the online tools like SurveyMonkey, which in itself, anyone who's kind of used online survey tools over time will see how the questions are getting more and more clever. So there's ways to interpret and almost objectify what are really qualitative responses. So it just makes the data easier to interpret and then use and promote and track over time. There's some interesting online tools as well, particularly around impact, social impact. So there's something that I've seen with Big Society Capital, an impact matrix, which is quite nice, which helps to break down a project. Of course, there's numerous tools now with things like around financial performance. So most financial packages like Sage and other things will immediately be able to turn things into graphs if that's what you want. So again, people respond in different ways. Some people dive straight for the numbers, some people want the words. So if you're describing the success of a club, it's important to appeal to both audiences, and anyone who perhaps an accountant, when they're thinking about success of a club, might immediately be drawn to, okay, well, what's the turnover, what's the growth, whereas other people perhaps are looking for other things. Participation, activity, these are the sort of things that quite a lot of clubs will be tracking anyway, even if it's not necessarily to promote success. So it might be something that you need to report back, or even just a case of collecting subs. This data should be there, so then it's thinking about how you might use it. In terms of kind of more qualitative ways to get information, focus groups are fantastic. Not just to track success, but just to get feedback and get under the skin of some of the issues good and bad about a club. So it's just finding that time with a small group of people where you can sit down in an open-minded way, in a trusted way, and talk about the club and how it's going. And actually, often some of the best ways to promote the success of a club is some of the comments that come out of those focus groups, where it really touches on perhaps an individual emotional story about how it's affected someone's life, or perhaps, I don't know, the confidence of someone's child has really grown by virtue of the impact that you've had of them being involved at the club. So you can really get into some of the issues, and also you can take perhaps some of the data that you've already captured into those focus groups and try and unpick it to really understand a bit more of the feeling behind the numbers. One-to-one interviews is a good way to actually be more specific and niche. So sometimes it doesn't always suit to have a focus group if people are sat there with completely different interests and a take. So for example, a one-to-one interview where you've got people different parts of the club, perhaps coaches, spectators, parents, you try and group them together on the focus group, or tease out perhaps a one-to-one interview. But yeah, there's other more creative ways as well. So what's becoming more and more popular, and I think we'll see that shortly with Wayne and Hive, is the use of media, short films, other ways to and social media to get some instant responses, to capture feedback and share successes. So lots of different ways, and so many different apps and technology that can help now. So be creative. What's the next one? Slightly more technical slide, really. When you kind of think about, okay, so finding success is, actually kind of how you get there and working backwards and start turn it into a plan or a project plan. It could become a really useful planning tool. So the way I'd start is to start right on the far side of the outcomes. So what are the types of things that what would you define success as? What are you looking to achieve? So it might be perhaps more girls playing football, or it might be to create the most engaged, passionate volunteer workforce. You start on that right-hand side, and then you just work your way backwards through the outputs, activities, and inputs. So, to have a fantastic, engaged volunteer workforce, start to think about, okay, so what are the outputs there, or is there some training that we need to do? Are there other materials that we might need that help them feel comfortable, and trusted and empowered in the roles that they do? Working back through to the activities, are there focus groups or interventions that we could make around understanding the role of volunteering at a club, and which will lead to the outputs and ultimately outcomes, and then back right at the start of the inputs. So what do you need to put into this? Is it some money into the training courses? Do you need some mentoring? Do you need to go and visit another club who've got a great program going? So it's just a way to kind of start to piece together from the best bit, really, which is what you're trying to achieve, a little plan of action. And if you'd go on to the next slide. And for those real enthusiasts out there, there's a whole host of kind of more technical tools and models which can help think about measurement and evaluation. And we're going to cover in future webinars a bit more around planning a good project. But here's just a few things which might appeal. Again, there's lots of free stuff online. So there's these kind of like nice canvases which is not a bad place to start working up a project from. So that's on the left, where it breaks it down into various components, as I was saying before. What's the success factor, but what's what the aim. So it just allows you, perhaps as a small group, to work through the whole a bit more of a plan, really. So you've got it all bulleted and broken down. Sport England have got a useful tool which is called outcomes hierarchy, which again is fairly similar. You start with the primary outcome, what you're looking to achieve. So as a club, again, it could be an on-pitch thing, or it could be something more to do with perhaps the culture and environment at the club. And so you start off with what your primary outcome is, and then you can you work backwards and have secondary outcomes, things that when you break it down also come about. So maybe if you're looking to win the league, actually secondary outcome is that you improve your coaching network, or other things which will help to build up to the ultimate goal. And then at the bottom, which is the important thing, really, is, which goes back to the slides before, is what are the indicators? So how do you know in a quantifiable way that you've achieved success? And the final it looks like the flight of a dart arrow in there. It's just a little image which it probably goes a bit too far for most, but I quite like it in terms of lots of things have hopefully intended consequences, but sometimes there's positive unintended consequences, and sometimes unfortunately negative unintended consequences. So it's always worth thinking about when you've got a goal in mind, what other things going on, other than too narrow focus. There's all sorts of ways to look at this. So, for example, if you want to get new floodlights, let's say, for your pitch, there might be, in a wider scheme of things, actually perhaps unintended. Well, it could be either positive or negative, where perhaps the floodlights in the park actually make the park a safer, more secure place to be at night. Or perhaps an unintended consequence might be that it upsets the local residents who aren't happy with the club and creates further tensions. So, for those people that perhaps doing a bigger project, perhaps going for significant funding, it's worth just looking at things like social return on investment and some of the little ways to plan through a project, just to see, actually, you might be writing one thing down in your proposal that you want to achieve, but actually the real benefit is elsewhere, or perhaps the unintended consequence of you doing that creates a problem elsewhere. So maybe it could be as simple as the demand for a new pitch creates a problem in another one of your facilities. So this is kind of going a little bit of a step further, but it's useful to just think about, step back and evaluate success and what you're aiming for. And then, I think this slide will probably be best presented really through some of the case studies, because they really do shout about, Daniel's mentioned already, but it's really thinking about obviously celebrating success, particularly if you've now got some really useful data, and thinking about how ways the audience, as I said before, respond to different data. So people might like a little snappy infographic that sits in social media. Other people might like a detailed report or presentation. Maybe perhaps a parent or an investor or someone, or maybe there's a volunteer who wants to see that kind of feel-good factor with a nice pen portrait of someone who's got involved in the club and is passionately talking about how it's changed them for the better. So definitely celebrate success. Think about if you can regularly build it into your calendar, then that's great, because then people expect it. The obvious thing would be around things like an AGM or an annual get together that you have, awards night. It's nice, because then people, it becomes a routine and an expectation that there'll be a celebration. And as I say, there's a variety of different ways to do it. And I think where you can try and cater for all the different audiences, because each one will have their own take. Some people will want the detail. Perhaps a funder or an investor or someone else might want the more of a kind of qualitative feeling about, will I go and volunteer? Will I take my son or daughter to play at this club? Do I want to invest time in this place? Does the culture feel right?
Thanks, James. Insightful. Lots of colourful infographics from yourself there as well. So thank you very much for that, guys. I am going to introduce you to Wayne. Wayne is from Hive and Dibden Youth Football Club, and Wayne has joined us this evening to talk about the club's successes, what it means for the club, how they've worked out their club successes. But Wayne, before we start, shall I show the guys the video?
Yeah, it's a great place to start. Thank you.
Great stuff. Really cool video, guys, just to kick-start off and the introduction to Hive and Dibden. Fantastic video. I love the keeper at the end that was doing a little basketball take there with lots of bounces of the ball there. So that was great. Wayne, I will get this back into a position for you where you can kickstart off.
Thank you, Daniel, and thanks, James. It was really insightful. Okay, so when we got asked to do this, I think we kind of had to ask ourselves a few questions. Kind of felt sort of locally and within the community that we were successful at what we were doing, but we needed to understand why. The question was, have we made it, or is our club a success, and have we made it? So before we could sort of understand if we were successful, we needed to understand who we are and what we did. I think that's why we played the video. It's sort of in that 2-minute clip, sort of encapsulates what we're about. And what we're trying to do, and then from there we're able to sort of piece the pieces together, moving forward to be a success. So, okay, so we sort of identified that there was 4 key groups that make up our club. So we had the coaches, the parents, the committee members, and then most importantly the children, the players. So we sort of, as a leadership group and as a committee, when we got together and discussed what and why we were successful, we decided to sort of go out to these people. We went out to the coaches and we asked them. I won't go through them all individually, but that sort of gives you a snapshot of what came back from our coaches. We've got 62 coaches, I think, now in the football club. So quite a large base. But actually, a lot of the answers were quite similar. I'll just pick out a few there. Sort of education and learning opportunities was a really big one. So as a club, we try and do lots of CPDs and give the coaches the best resources we can. So it's great to see that was coming back as sort of what a coach sees as success, because ultimately, in order for them to sort of deliver on the pitch, they want to know, and they want to be the best. So, having the opportunity to sort of educate themselves further was a really important one. Go on to the next one as well. Something I think is sort of sometimes, say, overlooked, but a group that really needs need to feel a part of the club as well, which is the parents. So again, we went out to the parents through sort of WhatsApp groups for individual age groups and emails as well. These are some of the things we got back, and this was actually the one that was really pleasing as well. Sometimes certainly within coaching, if you ask any coach, and sometimes it can be quite a lonely place to be. Get dropped off, and there's minimal contact with parents. So actually, when we started delving in and sort of feeling below the layers of what the parents feel about the club, some of the feedback was really positive. And again, it all sort of leads into further in the presentation about being successful. Most important slide will be the next one, and why we all do it, which is the children. And they are children. They're children first, and players second. And we try and give them a fun, safe place to play football and learn and become better footballers and better people. Giving them lots of praise by rewarding them and allowing them to learn both football skills and life skills. These again were some of, from under 7s all the way through to under 18s. Answers that came back from the children and the players. So again, leading into one of our 4 key groups of the ingredients of what and why we're successful. Lastly was a committee. So it underpins any great club. I'm fortunate enough to be the chairman of the football club, but not naive enough to realise that it's the team that's around me that enables us to be successful. So I've got a fantastic team. Again, we reached out and we asked each and every one of them. These were sort of the key ones that came back and actually underpin what we're doing as a club. Again, I won't go through them all, but we talk about successful health checks. So maintain a level of charter standard, we need to have annual health checks. On the spot checks, a lot of county FAs now are doing spot checks with coaches, so making sure that we're getting good returns in them as well. A lot of county leagues or leagues within the county now are doing respect marks after every game. So again, we came out above the average in those spot checks as well. So that was really important as well, to make sure that the good work going on is actually transferring right down onto the pitch with the coaches. Another important one there was a future-proofing. So, everyone has a cycle within grassroots football, and I'm no different to that. The committee that I sit with are no different to that. A big part of what we're trying to do is make sure that when our time's done with the club and we move on into different things and we leave the club in what will be great hands, is to make sure that they've got the platform to sort of continue the great work. And again, we'll move on to that later on of how we can sort of recognise success in that department as well. We just go on to the next one. So here we go. So what does success look like for our club? So with those 4 groups and the 4 ingredients that we had there, we needed a guiding light and a blueprint to be able to underpin what we're moving forward. We then, once we were confident in what we had then sort of gave that confidence and tried to instill it into our coaches. From there, they ran with it. They were on board and they were able to work the magic. So this is what it looks like. Everything that we talked about before, there's our recipe for success. Happy parents or happy coaches, happy parents, happy committee. Ultimately, we're creating an environment to have happy children, which is why we're doing it. So with them 4 things together, the last thing we needed to complete it all was a North Star, something to point it at. And something actually that we stole a little bit from a local club. So Saints or Southampton FC, who are local to us, they have a thing called We March On, and they sort of celebrate any success they have with that mantra. And we kind of recognised that we could do some of that as well. So we took on the We All Can Play. So it's a hashtag. If we're on Twitter, we sort of attach it to everything we do, and it is our North Star. Everything we do as a club now, be it small or be it quite, in terms of committee, everything points back to that. And basically, all that means is we're a club that accepts everybody. Everybody and everyone. So if you're an elite player, or if you have never kicked a ball before and just want to be social, then we will find a place for you to play. Everyone will be given equal opportunity, and everyone ultimately will be given the environment, the correct environment to learn and have fun and hopefully fall in love with the game. Appreciate that every player that that comes through the club is maybe not going to go on and become a professional footballer, but actually as a club, we've got a duty to them to make sure they fall in love with the game and they carry on playing. If they're going to be coaches, can we inspire them to be coaches? Is that success? I think so. Are they going to be referees? Ultimately, the future's in our hands, so we have to protect that. And by having a mantra and something that we can sort of fall back on, it really does underpin everything we do. So with that, the last thing, and the thing that we based it all around, was the environment. We understood, and sort of as a leadership group, we've done a lot of research, spoke to a lot of parents who were teachers. I can't thank them people enough. There's a lot of people in any club that can help you, and in this, trying to get the environment right was key. So we looked at school and we looked at different learning environments, and actually come up with the idea that if we got the environment right, had the platform to be able to move on, ultimately give us success. So by the environment, made the teams an age group, if you like. So we're quite a large club. We have 32 teams within the club across a variety of age groups. So the first thing we did was we sort of combined the age groups together. So the teams in the age groups still remained as teams, but we kind of tried to break down a few of those boundaries within the team. So some of my roles within the FA, I get to go around teams, and sometimes what you can see is almost franchises within a club. So they're a little bit detached. Sometimes the core values are not the same. You could be on a pitch where maybe the guys, the children are playing or training for the same team, they're wearing the same kit, actually the values are not the same. So we try to sort of get in there and address that. So we try and encourage social interactions between the children, between the age groups. So having an understanding that some children need training at that level and some need it at this level. Actually, they're all children, and during the day on the playground, they play with each other, and on the playground, they play football with each other, they play sports at school, and that's all they want to do when they come to us. So we offer that environment as well. It also sort of helps us in terms of environment, in terms of the ability. So soft tiering that we have within the club. So making sure that every child is playing in an environment that is matching their ability, if you like. So a new child coming into the club will be put in an environment where they're going to learn and they're going to have fun, and ultimately want to continue playing football. Once we got the environment right, we were able then to sort of march on. And again, with the sort of mantra of we all can play, along with the correct environment, we firmly believe we had all the ingredients to deliver the very best. And I'm going to just go through a few sort of examples in a minute of what that looks like. So there you go, that sort of just underpins a little bit of what I said about with the foundation set, a clear vision. It's important here actually just to go back to the last webinar with Stuart. Although the subjects that we're talking about are different, the one thing that was apparent with Stuart and his club was that they knew what they were, and they knew they know what they do. And that's the stage where we got to. We had an understanding of who we were and what we wanted to do. And then from there, we sort of set out on our pursuit of success. Just go on to the next one. We're going to start dropping into a few examples. So 2.5 years ago, 2017, as a leadership group, we understood that girls' football was thriving. It was really big. And we had, as much as sort of recognising success, sometimes you've got to be able to recognise sort of your underachievements as well. And we did that. We sat down and we realised that we hadn't quite got that right. 2017, we only had one girl signed to the football club. That was our vice chairman's daughter. Very resilient young lady, still playing now. But she was playing in an all-boys team, and that was okay for her. And what we were finding is that we were getting girls into the football club, wasn't able to sort of retain them, and it goes back to sort of the previous conversations we've been having about environment. We ascertained that we wasn't able to provide the girls with the right environment. So going back to everything that we'd learned, we decided to change it. And again, in 2017, it sort of became our primary focus. First of all, we set out a lot of help from, so we're very fortunate in the county. There's a lady called Flo who works for Hampshire FA, and she's fantastic. She really helped myself and the club on sort of our pursuit for success within the girls' game. Lots of pointers, lots of ideas, and we're able to start offering girls the right environment to come and play. So during the FA's Women and Girls Week, we set up a day and we invited lots of girls in, female coaches as well, just to come in and have fun and fall in love with the game. On that day, we got 12 girls. They came in, they had fun, and then from there, we spoke to, so at the time, it was a lady called Lois Fiddler who was involved within Southampton FC Women's and Girls, and Martina, and they were doing some great work locally. So we spoke to them as well, and they were brilliant. They came in and they helped, and they put on sessions and CPDs. And from that, we were able to get some female coaches, which was the first time we'd had that within the club. So we were able to get them through on their level ones. So then we started to see the growth of it. Now, up until now, I think we're up to 2.5 years on. We're up to 60 girls now across various teams. We've got a lioness session that's set up on a weekday night that's brilliant. That the environment for our youngest girls to come in. They hope that they're going to go and form a new team at under sevens. And that sort of, to us as a club, that's what success looks like. We were big enough to recognise that we'd maybe not been so successful in an area. Understood why. We talked about it and we set out on the pursuit. And that's an example really of actually a bit of a long-term project. That's 2.5 years from then until now, and it's by no means over. So, we're talking about that's going to continue. That success that we've got to now is only temporary, and it will grow and it will get better, bigger. Again, like what James was saying, it's not just about quantity, it's about quality as well. So we've got to ensure that when these girls come in, we're able to provide the right opportunity. That's sort of a bit based around the club's long-term or a piece of success from the long-term. This here was really inspiring. Something we put out on social media as well, and I was really glad that sort of James spoke about this in his piece as well, which was what success looked like for maybe individuals as well. So Millie is a lovely young lady who had a few issues with confidence. She would go to school, but she would really struggle to integrate socially. Certainly not with any clubs. Parents had tried the usual clubs, and she came down to one of our sessions with a coach who we're going to speak about in a minute, who egged her on and got her in to do a couple of minutes, which she did. She came in and she did a couple of minutes, played some fun games, and that was enough for her at that time. And she went back out the gate. Next week she came back and she did a few minutes more, and it's gradually grew and grew and grew. The support and the right environment, to the point where about 6 weeks of sort of coming and going and dipping her toe, she actually played her first ever game of football, which was great. And everyone sort of encouraged her, and it was brilliant. And the coach, we have a WhatsApp group that celebrates success on a weekly basis. So what challenges the players were set, and So Ian came back and put his post up about Millie, and it actually included this picture which Millie herself had done. So to some it's just a picture, but actually to her parents and to the club who understood where Millie was, really, really inspiring. And to us, that, you know, what we were going back to the video about we all can play, that I think in itself sort of sums up everything that we're trying to do. Millie's still playing football to this day, still struggles with her own sort of confident issues, except when she's playing football. So we can all be tremendously proud in sort of the part we've played to give Millie a platform in her life rather than just as a footballer. So yeah, that was a really key part that we wanted to share just for tonight, and sort of the power that football and volunteers within football can have. If we just go on to the next one. So Brom is actually a really good friend of mine. In terms of what we were talking about at the start with the 4 ingredients. So we had a bit of, we talked about the parents, the coaches, players and the committee. We talked a little bit about club success before with the girls, and an individual one in terms of a player with Millie. This is from a coach, and maybe I'm not sure if Bromers is really expecting this, but actually a bit of praise to Ian tonight as well for what he's done. I'm not going to go through all the points there, but in terms of celebrating a coach's success, Ian coached what are now our under-16s boys teams. He also coaches our under-12 girls teams. So one team plays on a Saturday, one team plays on a Sunday, one team trains on a Monday, one trains on a Wednesday. You know, I'm not sure his wife likes us that much, but he's just one of our heroes, if you like. But interestingly with Ian is 3 or 4 years ago, he's ready to chuck it all in. He had a tough time before the girls section came along, and he was doing just the boys section. There was a bit of turmoil within the age group. It wasn't all rosy. Had the same problems that I'm sure a lot of the people that are watching this have had during their time. I didn't quite feel like at that time he was getting support from the football club. So myself and other members of the club and previous chairman at the time as well also did a great job. Spoke to Ian and shared our sort of new vision with him and the blueprint, and got Ian back on board. And slowly but surely he was able to sort of start enjoying it again for himself. He recently done his level 2, which inspired him to sort of, you know, to be the best he can be. And then the girls section kicked off. Ian's actually got 2 twins that play in the girls. They're just there in the picture actually. So Ian took the girls on as well, and now he hasn't looked back. And again, just you know, if there's people watching the webinar that are part of club committees, it's important to recognise these people, the sort of heartbeat. In every club, there's a heartbeat. There's a hero. There's someone that sort of encapsulates everything you do. And this tonight, and it's not the first time that we've said it about Ian. He's recognising these people as well, recognising not only club successes, big successes, little successes, but actually individual successes. I think it's really important. So yeah, just. Really important for us to do as well. We go on to the next one. Again, this was, so in terms of success, I never really thought about this as a massive success story, but actually after talking and listening to a lot of what was coming back, the director of New Forest Care is our whole club sponsor. He's a parent within the club that simply took his child to football, dropped them off and picked them up again after. Quickly recognised sort of everything that we were doing, and together with his business partners decided to become a whole club sponsor. So again, 30 odd teams. We've now got our kits are all branded. Everyone's in the same kit with the same sponsor. And you know, in terms of celebrating success, I think that speaks volumes as well. So yeah, big thanks to New Forest K. Everything you do is great. So yeah. A good success story there. Again, going back, Danielle made a perfect point. How do we share that? We've got a brand new website. We encourage that through social media, people to interact. We put everything that we possibly can up there, apart from results. We're not a results-based club. Recently had a new logo. Yeah, we were happy to promote that as well through these sources and different things. So yeah, social media and website play a huge part in everything we do. So yeah, we'll continue to sort of explore that as well. Something that's relatively new to us. So yeah, that's something that a big player recently for us. Coming to the okay, so the last few slides now. So the Jane Herding Award. This again, it's recognising individualism within the club. The Jane was an old committee member of ours that left about 5 or 6 years ago, and we named an award after Jane. And basically, the award is for people that are sort of not just long service, but also people that go above and beyond. So that gets presented once a year at our annual presentation. Something that's sort of important to the club, again, to recognise these individuals that sort of are the heartbeat of football clubs. So yeah, just a little touch on that again about recognising success. On to the next one. Okay, so the biggest one for us, you know, in terms of celebrating success, to be told or be awarded as being the sort of club of the year, the grassroots football club of the year by Hampshire FA last year, for us was absolutely huge, and we sung from the rooftops about it, and rightly so, I think. Sort of, you know, sometimes we believe that we're doing a good job, or all the time we believe we're doing a good job, but sometimes it's nice to be told as well. So a bit like how we sort of try and tell our volunteers and showcase them, to actually be recognised by our peers as doing a great job was brilliant. So something that, yeah, we'll remember for a long, long time. Here you go. Okay, and go to the next one, Daniel. Okay, so future success. Again, football's never standing still, so we have to keep moving. Charter Standard Community Club. At the moment, we're a development club. We've got a few sort of T's to cross and I's to dot before we can apply for our community club. But we hope by the end of the year we can go and do that. So yeah, looking forward to getting the application off for that. Again, it's important to have a vision to want to improve. And lastly, just securing the future of the club's facilities. We're fortunate enough to be a partner club at a fantastic 3G facility down here in the New Forest. We don't have the sort of the backup facilities, changing rooms, toilets, or refreshment area. So we're currently in a big fundraising stage, and we hope that obviously we're in a bit of a tricky time at the moment, so timescales might have to shift a little bit, but we're hoping by the back of the summer that these things will be put in place, and again it will go a long way into sort of sharing how successful and sort of where we were to where we are now. So yeah. Okay. And just to conclude really of what we're saying, so one, success is an end, there is no end to what we're doing. So constantly evaluating where our targets are and what we want to do and what we want to be. That won't change. I think the most important one here, particularly for people watching, is you can't please all the people all the time. The whole presentation might come across like everything's rosy within our club and we don't have any problems and we don't get any problem emails or problems with parents and stuff. We do. But actually, it's sign of a good club is the processes that you've got in place to be able to deal with that. But more importantly, having a vision and set of values that sort of point back to everything you do. If you've got that, then you deal with these problems a lot more efficiently. So don't be alarmed by problems, especially if you're a club that haven't got a vision or a blueprint or a shining light yet. Up with those ideas and they're challenged, that's fine, that's okay. But if you're strong as a leadership group to be able to back them up, then that's the most important thing. And then lastly, I guess it's why we all do it. If we're keeping the parents, the players and the coaches happy, then we deem ourselves as a success. Yeah, that's it guys. Thanks very much for me football club.
Well, that was fantastic. Thank you very much for that. That is much appreciated. Really insightful. I think it was really important that when we were talking about success, and this wasn't at all teed up, I emailed many county affairs and said, look, if you've got some really good clubs, really good practice out there around this topic, please do let me know. And Hampshire came back and recommended Wayne, which was fantastic. And I always had in the back of my head when pulling the content together with James that it would always look at maybe something different that isn't necessarily a facility project, for example, or it isn't necessarily a big funding bid, for example, that success could be in any way, shape or form that you, as a club, as a committee, deemed appropriate. So I was always really keen for that, and it just so happened that when Hampshire FA, Charlotte over there, recommended Wayne, that it worked out well. And I think, like I say, it wasn't the fact that we wanted to tee it up, it was more the fact that success can be anything, and I think sometimes we overcomplicate it. I think one question that did come through the chat, which I think is really good from Andrew, is just around some of the assets and infographics that have been shared today. Look really cool. Is there any kind of almost free tools out there? And I know James has come back on some of them, but just to go back to Wayne's presentation, and I'm sure Wayne won't mind me saying, is that Wayne's good with computers, but not necessarily the design that you saw on the presentation. And actually it was someone within Wayne's club that pulled that together. So I'd just say that if you do want to pull together some cool snazzy stats, infographics, etc., have a look as well within your clubs. There might be an individual that works for a company or has their own company that might be able to do that for you. I do appreciate that it is 6 minutes past and we are over. I just wanted to summarise the last two slides. What I will say is that once I've summarised them, questions will be at the end if people want to stay. James, Wayne, I hope that's okay if we stay on the line for another kind of 5 to 10, just to be available if anyone does want to answer any questions. Just wanted to give this last slide some time. Karen gave me her time last week, which was fantastic. And she ultimately spoke around what one of the successes for her league is. And ultimately, and again, it wasn't planned, it just reiterated everything that Wayne had said, everything that James had kind of pulled together in terms of content and guidance. And ultimately, for this league, one of their successes really is to be able to provide and continue to provide a safe, supportive and enjoyable opportunity to play football. And 4 key things really for Karen and the team there at the Norfolk Combined Youth League was linking your success to your vision. And I think Wayne hit the nail on the head there really when he spoke around his vision as a club, and actually the happy coaches, happy committee, happy parents equals happy players was really, really important. Again, Wayne mentioned around leagues looking at the respect marks, and this is one way that the league here uses data to support conversation. Ultimately, they're looking to provide a safe, supportive and enjoyable environment, and then respect figures and marks that are inputted into the league helps begin that conversation. Yes, it helps maybe more challenging conversations when things maybe aren't being played in the right way, both on and off the pitch, but it's another way to gather that information and then start working out how you can work towards its success. When speaking to Karen, she was really keen that actually everyone's on board with helping to reach their successes or their aims, their objectives, their vision. And again, I think Wayne really hit the nail on the head there when he encompassed the parents, the committee, the coaches, the players in understanding what success means for them and what the club means to them. And again, last point there from Karen really is around kind of connect and share the knowledge. It's no good knowing you're successful or thinking you're successful and not being able to share it. It's really, really important, especially in the current times. I know it's a real challenge, and I was challenged as to whether I should continue running this webinar based on the current situations we find ourselves in, and I was adamant to do so for the simple fact is that yes, it's been a really tough season for many, and if anything, it's exceptionally tough now. However, you guys do absolutely fantastic things out there. You really do, and wrongly or rightly, the situation we find ourselves in now hopefully gives you and your committee an opportunity to reflect on what you've done, not just this season, but seasons prior, and actually really hone in on why you are successful and what you do really well, because you do. Football just runs continuously. We don't ever get a break, and this might might be an opportunity for you guys to really reflect and understand why you're successful, because you are all successful in your own ways. You might just not know yet why you are, but I promise you, you all are. Like I say, I apologise, 10 minutes over. I do appreciate those that have stayed on the line. It is one of the notes I've jotted down for those that were on the first one and are now on this one. It is a reoccurrence that we're over, so I'm looking at how we kind of make sure we're on time and or extend the time. Apart from that, like I say, James and myself 100% will stay on the line. I hope Wayne will as well, to answer any questions, any further questions you may have. Apart from that, everyone, stay safe, please. Thank you very much for joining, and hopefully we will see you all on the next webinar with details to follow in due course. Thank you very much, everyone. Good evening. Cool. If anyone is on the line that does have any questions, please